Alright, in this video we're going to look at mastery challenges on Khan Academy. So part of the system for getting mastery points, which are an indication or should be an indication of what you've demonstrated that you know, that you've learned and can do, the mastery challenges will appear once you have done several sets of problems within a grade. Then, when you go into that grade, in this case I'm in third grade, once you go into that, the mastery challenge will appear here if you have things that you can practice. So, mastery challenge, you'll just select it to get started. It's a little bit like a quiz, except instead of being only on a few skills that are leading right up to that quiz, these are questions from anywhere in the course that you've already completed. So this is going to take a random set of 6 problems. There are going to actually be there'll be 2 questions for 3 different types of problems. So there are 6 problems total, but there'll be 2 questions of one kind, 2 questions of another kind, and 2 questions of a third kind. Okay, so in Khan Academy, all of your mastery points are in flux. They're flexible. They can change. They can go up when you get more problems correct, or when you get problems on the unit tests correct, but they can also go down. So if you are at 100 out of 100 on a skill, and then you go to the unit test and you take that and you get that kind of problem wrong, it will go down from 100 out of 100 to 80 out of 100. Or if you were at 80, it will go from 80 to 50. Or if you were at 50, it'll go to 0. Okay, so it will change. It can go up or it can go down. That's true here too, but this is a little less, it's a little more forgiving. Okay, so since there are 2 problems of one kind, if you get them both right on this mastery challenge, your percentage will go up. If you get one of them right and one of them wrong, your mastery percentage won't change for that skill. That's the most forgiving that it gets in this system. If you get them both wrong, it will go down. Okay, so here's our first question. Identify the most reasonable unit to measure the volume of a bathtub. A bathtub would be measured in fairly big units. Milliliters are 1,000th of a liter, and a liter is close to a quart, right? It's a little more than 1/4 of a gallon. So liters makes more sense. We'll pick that. We got that right. Filled in our circle green. On to the next thing. How can we classify the following shape? Here it is. I notice it has 4 straight sides and it's closed, so that makes it a polygon. And since it's 4 sides, it's a quadrilateral. It is not a rectangle because to be a rectangle means that the angles are all right angles, 90 degrees. And it is not a rhombus because in order to be a rhombus, every side length has to be the same measurement. They have to be congruent side lengths, or sides. So this is a quadrilateral, but it's not a rectangle, and it's not a rhombus. It's also not a square because a square has right angles and equal side lengths. It's not none of the above because it is a 4-sided quadrilateral. All right. Notice that was a problem on geometry. The other one was a problem on volume or appropriate units. Okay, so Marcy is putting squares into a rectangular mat. After she finishes covering it, Marcy says the mat measures 30 square units. Which measurement did she find? So 30 square units, is that area, perimeter, or length? Those are our options. Always scroll down to make sure you see all of your options. Like on the previous problem, I didn't see them all until I scrolled down. There were actually 5 options. This one only has 3 options. Okay, so square units is a measurement of area. Perimeter is a distance, so that's not going to be square units, it'll be units to the 1st power, and length is like perimeter, a measurement of distance. How can we classify the following shape? Okay, so now we have our second question on geometry. Again, this is a quadrilateral, but its sides are all equal lengths, which means the sides are congruent. So it's a quadrilateral, but it's also a rhombus. It is not a rectangle because it doesn't have right angles. It is not a square because it doesn't have right angles, but it is these two, so it's not none. Next question. Which is closer to the volume of a witch's cauldron? A witch's cauldron, a cauldron. So she's stirring, right, with the broom. It's a pretty big container. Is it going to be 20 liters, which would be, each liter is a little more than a quarter of a gallon, so that's about 5 gallons. You can picture a 5-gallon bucket would be something like this. Or 2,000, so that's 100 times as big as a 5-gallon bucket. That would be like a small play pool, swimming pool, right? So we're going to go at 20 liters. And that was our second question on volumes and appropriate units. All right. Last question. Les is measuring the border of her bulletin board. She measures around the entire outside of the bulletin board and finds the distance is 32 units. Okay, distance. Well, distance isn't area. Distance is a length, but it's a special length in this case. It's not just a length, it's the measure around the outside of something. That's the definition of perimeter, so we'll pick perimeter. Check. Now we show summary, and what it's going to tell us is how things changed, if we changed it all. And in this case, since I got both questions right on area and perimeter, I went from having 80 out of 100 points to having 100 out of 100 points. On estimating volume from milliliters and liters, that also went from 80 to 100, and from classifying quadrilaterals went 80 to 100. They will sometimes give you skills that are already at 100. Now it can't get better than 100 out of 100, but you can maintain it by getting one or both problems correct on this mastery challenge situation. And we're done.